All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're putting the Forex broker HFM under the microscope, and we're using a really deep dive review from Brokerate.io to do it. They did all the heavy lifting, and we're going to pull out everything you need to know. So, right out of the gate, Brokerate hits you with this number. 94. That's 94 out of 100. Let's be real, that is a seriously impressive score for any broker out there. But, a number like that doesn't just come from nowhere. It's built on a whole bunch of different things. So what exactly does a broker have to do to earn a 94? Let's break this review down. Okay, first things first. With any financial company, you got to start with the foundation. We're talking about trust, about history, and of course, official regulation. Let's see how HFM stacks up here. And just so you can see where we're getting our info, this is the exact Brokerate.io review page we're using for this whole breakdown. Everything we're talking about comes straight from their research. First up is just how long they've been around. HFM, which you might also see called HF Markets, is not the new kid on the block. They were set up way back in 2010. In the crazy fast world of online trading, being in business for over a decade, that says something. Now, this is where it gets really important. Official oversight. HFM is regulated by CySEC. That's the Cyprus Securities and Exchange Commission. And for any trader, seeing a big name regulator like CySEC is a huge checkmark for safety. It means they're being watched. And they're not just based in one spot either. HFM has a real international footprint. They have key bases in major financial hubs like Cyprus, the UK, and Dubai. This isn't some small-time operation. It signals a serious global business. Okay, so the trust stuff, that's clearly in place. They've got the history and the regulation. But what's it actually like to trade with them? Let's get into the nitty-gritty now. The trader's toolkit, the actual conditions and platforms you'd be using. So here are the core specs laid out plain and simple. The minimum deposit is only $50, which is super accessible. The max leverage is, wow, a massive 1 to 2,000. That lets you control some huge positions with very little capital, something an experienced trader is definitely going to notice. And platform-wise, they've got the essentials, the industry standards MT4 and MT5, plus their own HFM app. All right, the hard data paints a pretty strong picture, right? But what's the overall feeling, the vibe? This is where we get into Brokerate's final verdict, where the analysis gets a little more subjective, a little more nuanced. So Brokerate calls out some major positives. They think HFM is a great fit for traders with those mid-range accounts, somewhere in that $5,000 to $10,000 sweet spot. They also give them props for solid customer support and for creating content, which is a good sign they're engaged with their users. And it's pretty obvious they care a lot about their online reputation. But on that last point, about reputation, this is where the review throws in a really interesting curveball. When talking about all the high ratings HFM gets on sites like Trustpilot, the reviewer says this, which honestly is a great piece of healthy skepticism you should have in this industry. And this really sums up that tension perfectly. On one hand, HFM's focus on advertising and their online rankings shows they care about how they're seen. But on the other hand, Brokerate makes a fantastic point. It's getting harder and harder to tell the difference between a reputation that's genuinely earned and one that's been, well, bought. And that, right there, is the big question that this whole review leaves us with. Is HFM's awesome reputation the result of its solid, long-standing fundamentals, or is it maybe supercharged by a really smart, really well-funded marketing game? Brokerate seems to think the real answer is probably a mix of both. And for any trader looking into them, that's the key thing to keep in your back pocket.